All right, everyone, welcome back to this now new moon Sidereal Astrology forecast. Hope you all are well. So this is going to be a new beginning on June 23rd and 24th, Friday and Saturday of this week. It's going to be at 23:05 Eastern Time in the Americas on Friday, the 23rd. But if you're in Europe or the East, it will be mostly on the 24th for you. But because it's happening quite late, either way, it's going to be around these 2 days for all of us collectively. So I do want to preface by saying this video is for Sidereal Astrology. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the link down below. We're using the actual size and location of the constellations here. So you may notice some of the signs are different from mainstream astrology. So anyways, the new moon's in Gemini, new beginning collectively with the Gemini twin energy. And so what is the twins? What does this represent? Well, it's the aspect of life that I like to look at in two ways. One is that of learning, right? So it's all about ideas, practical insight, curiosity, inquisition, right? Learning, but also sharing as well. The twins, right? The synergy, right? So sharing of ideas, most certainly. Communication is being integrated at this time for all of us, developing our communication skills or just becoming more aware of them. And also too with physical things, Gemini is also about trade and commerce and business and all this stuff, which is about sharing with others. So learning and sharing is what's being integrated at this time. And I think as we are approaching this new moon, the energies are going to be dying down. So it's really good to sort of see what this new inquisitiveness is, or curiosity, or practical energy of using our mind to cultivate the things that we value in life, and sharing with others to give and also to receive, right? And to be a part of this whole world of sharing where we're not just, giving our own information, we're also receiving information, and there's this synergy between it. So very powerful, I feel like, because there's a lot of aspects going to be taking place with this new moon. It's going to be conjunct Mercury. Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, emphasizing a lot of this, which we'll talk about. There's an opposition up to Saturn, so there is some patience we're integrating, but this is nothing new. We've had this opposition up to Saturn these past couple weeks. A sextile up to Uranus, so maybe a bit of freedom, right? Maybe a bit of change in our life, and a square up to Chiron. Maybe there's some healing taking place with this new moon that we can be facing some wounds with and taking some steps in the face of those wounds. And it is going to be very close to Orion as well. So, and a couple aspects. So let's go ahead and break all of this down here in more detail in just a few seconds. All right, so let's have a look at this chart. Here's the chart of the new moon, again, 23:05 Eastern Time. And you can see here the new moon is going to be right at the beginning of Gemini, which also duels as the location of Orion, or at least right above the arm of Orion, as the moon passes over this part of the sky. So most fundamentally, though, Gemini is the constellation that goes through the ecliptic, so this is going to be the dominant energy here. A new beginning with this learning and sharing. So Gemini, the twins, this is very much about practicality. Okay, this is, in this sector, or in this sort of, what do you call it, polarity with the constellations. You've got Gemini on one hand, you've got Sagittarius on the other. Where Gemini, these are both about understanding. Okay, these are both about wisdom and understanding. Right, and mental energy. But Gemini is particularly the practical side of all this, right? What can be actually implemented and used in our life tangibly, right? What are these ideas we can get to embetter our life, to embetter the lives of others, right? And it has to be applied, it has to be actually, able to be implemented. So I think practicality is a big part of this, and I think these are some good questions to ask yourself during this new moon. Is what in your life can you use this practicality for? Or how can you develop your practical side, right? Your ideas, your mental faculty, your understanding, using that side of your, being in order to develop and cultivate your values or whatever it is you're focused on at this time. Do check your weekly horoscope, by the way, to see where this new moon is. It will be in different areas of life for all of us. So along with this practical development, I think it's also good to be very inquisitive at this time. This is also what's being integrated, this curiosity, this inquisition, this wanting to understand. All right, and I think developing that, whether you're picking up a book, whether you're watching some videos, all right, maybe gaining some new practical skills, it's really good to be developing this wanting to learn, this curiosity, this inquisitiveness, and really just using our mental faculty at this time, generally thinking. And there's so many ways to do that. Maybe you'll do a crossword puzzle. Maybe you'll do some writing, right? Maybe you'll, read a book. So whatever's using that mental faculty, that thinking, is just excellent. And as we go through this whole lunar cycle, as we go through this next month, this is going to be developing more and more. And as we develop more of this Gemini quality, we'll have it in our being to then implement in different areas of our life. So along with all this, again, practical side, then there's the sharing side. So along with this, I think it's a really good time to get together with equal-minded folks. All right, people in your life that share a similar idea, but even maybe not even a similar idea too, but are at least open to learning, or at least open to your ideas, or open to, you're open to their ideas. And just opening up a sort of channel of communication with people in your life. And it doesn't even have to be anyone you're close to. It could be in your everyday interactions, socializing, right, or just interacting in your day-to-day life. And I think with this, again, curiosity and open-mindedness, but in the interactive sense, I think it's an excellent time for sharing ideas. Again, we could be learning a lot at this time through others, with others, and even, again, opening up some opportunities for maybe some trade or sharing of some things. And again, developing communication. I really want to emphasize that. Gemini is all about language, the language we use, but also the actual communication, body language, the whole sphere. But, really getting into the importance of communication and the importance of correspondence. So this is going to be manifesting differently for all of us, but this is a sort of general synopsis of what Gemini is about, and I think these are really good questions to ask. Where can you develop your practicality, your communication skills, or your inquisitiveness? All right, all of this kind of stuff is what's being integrated. So let's talk about Orion. Orion is the constellation right in between Taurus and Gemini, and the moon does pass through Orion often. So this new moon is going to be right above Orion, technically Gemini, but right above Orion. So let's talk about what that symbolizes. We talk a lot about Ophiuchus, all right, and this is the healer. All right, this is the spiritual part of the chart, the galactic center, transformation, change, all this deep stuff. But completely opposite Ophiuchus is Orion, and Orion is very much about the earthy stuff, the grounded stuff, the physical embodiment of our being. So it's the hunter, and the hunter, in order to live this physical existence, does have to go through these physical motions, right, of pursuing the things we value in life and striving towards our survival, not for the sake of survival, but using our abilities to survive. And if you look at what a human being represents, our only tool of survival from this, again, grounded perspective, is that of our rational mind. And this is where Gemini and Taurus meet, right? Taurus being the earth, the physicality, Gemini, again, being rationality. So it's about living physically in this world, and again, Gemini is helping us do that with that practicality. But to use our rational mind, to better our life and the lives of others. So, these are, again, good questions to ask. What can you do physically, in this world, in this existence, in your everyday life to, yes, cultivate your values, Taurus, but to use your rational mind to do that. All right, so that's the new moon. Let's talk about some of these aspects. We have a conjunction with Mercury, which is the ruler of Gemini. So there could very well be literal new things shaping up. Oftentimes with the signs, it's just these qualities, right? These characteristics of life. In this case, this learning and sharing. But whenever a planet's involved, it can be literal things. So literal things having to do with Gemini. There can be certainly some new ideas around Friday and Saturday. We may be picking up that book, doing some reading. We may be picking up the pen, doing some writing, or the blogging, typing. We could be maybe something new with trade, if there's anything new in your life involving that, or business. New beginnings with communication. New beginnings with your peers, your community, and quite possibly your siblings as well. Gemini, again, the twins, is symbolic of not only peers, of others of equal status, but also our siblings as well. So maybe a new beginning surfacing for some of you in that department. And again, language through the communication. And one other thing about Mercury is about routine. Maybe there's a whole new routine shaping up, and maybe asking yourself where you can do that. Develop your day-to-day, time management, energy management, organization in your life. All of this is all Mercury related. So yes, quite literally, I think new beginnings with this, and having that perspective can certainly help. Now, that new moon is going to be opposite Saturn. This is also very important. Saturn has been opposing up to the Sun, has been opposing up to Mercury these past couple weeks. And Saturn, as a lot of you know, is the planet of limitation. So we've been feeling perhaps on some level a bit limited. And this new moon could be emphasizing that. Again, nothing new, but could be emphasizing the importance of us perhaps requiring a bit of patience, requiring a bit of persistence, self-discipline, in order to cultivate whatever these new beginnings are. And again, to cultivate these new qualities of ourselves. So I think it's very good to get on the side of Saturn with this new moon. What can you do to see the big picture, right? What can you do to see the long-term perspective? And with that, it's helping everything stay nice and grounded, nice and balanced during what is this new beginning. And give this new beginning some time. Again, it takes time for the lunar energy to gain that momentum and that insight and the energy. And so with this opposition up to Saturn, just seeing both the short term, which is the next 30 days with this new moon, but even to the next 6 months, and how some of these new beginnings do take time. Okay. So along with the new moon, opposite Saturn, conjunct Mercury, is also going to be sextiling up to Uranus. Uranus being the planet of opportunity, of change, opportunity for freedom. When it's in a sextile like this, it's just a sort of opening. So I don't think the spirit of the new moon is going to be that of freedom, as if it was a trine or something like that. But there is this sort of opening, and I think there is this tinge of it. So this is also nothing new, because Uranus has been very prominent this year, and even lately these past couple months. So there's this sort of undercurrent of this new change in our life, and this new excitement, this new freedom. So what can you kind of do at this time to be open to that, and maybe make some changes in your life that is in alignment with your freedom, with your true self, with your excitement, and maybe listening to your intuition to do that, because Uranus, especially in Pisces, is giving us a lot of this intuitive energy at this time. And it's intuition about what is true to us, right? What is true to us, and again, where we can stretch our wings, have a bit of freedom, and change in our life that could be more in alignment with what we're truly about. So with that tinge, I think there's also this bit of healing taking place. Chiron is an asteroid, not a major planet, but is going to be squaring up to this new moon, suggesting that there could be some wounds coming up as well. All right, a lot going on with this. So the wounds are also nothing new. This is something we've been experiencing earlier in the week, and even last week as well, I believe. So if any wounds do come up, right, about your ability to cultivate these new beginnings, or whatever it is you want, you're striving for in your life, and the wounds are there, with the square, it's very good to take action and steps in the face of those wounds. Okay, and as a result, that's where the healing takes place. That's where we're getting on the side of Chiron, right? We are taking the bull by the horn, so to speak, and then we're the agent of change. We're the agent of healing, because we're going into it willingly versus hiding away from it, which is Pisces. There is this still very strong Pisces energy with both Uranus and Chiron, but in this square up to Chiron, there could be some, some wounds or something that could be relating to us wanting to hide away or escape or something like that. So facing those wounds head on, all right, facing those fears, is where I think the healing is going to be taking place. I think the healing is happening anyways, but it'll help us get on the right side of that. All right, so that's the new moon in a nutshell. Very important time, as it always is, but this is forming a lot of aspects with a lot of the different planets. And we also do have a couple other things going on during this new moon. Here's the transit grid. There's the new moon at 23:05 Eastern time here. And as you can see, we got a couple aspects around the same time, very close. In fact, Venus is going to be trining up to Pluto. And we'll probably be feeling this second half of Friday going into Saturday. Again, Saturday if you're in Europe or the East. And Venus is the planet of our values. And I think with this new moon, there is this whole shift of our values taking place. This whole new perspective of our values. And when there's values, when we change our values, there's also changes with our relationships as well. And I think that's a big side of this trine also, Venus ruling relationships. So there could be quite literally some changes in your relationship sphere. Maybe quite literal relationships, or maybe just your perspective of relationships is changing because your values are changing. So very powerful. And I think the more willing you are to clear out the old, to clear out those wounds, to clear out those fears, which is also what Pluto symbolizes. But we're going to be willing to do this. And there's going to be a lot of support to do this. So if there are any patterns, any fears, this sort of deep stuff regarding your values, the things you want in life, and your relationships and/or your relationships, then it's an excellent new moon to take, again, the steps and the actions to use this trine in such a way that we are clearing out the old to make way for the new. Clearing out these unhealthy patterns, these unhealthy attachments, these unhealthy fears to, again, pursue the things we value in life and the relationships in our life. Okay, so very powerful there. There could certainly be some changes in those areas. Now, as we get into more into the weekend, Saturday, Sunday time, Mars is going to be squaring up to Jupiter. And this is actually important generally with the new moon because the new moon is going to be somewhat close to Mars as well, who's already in Gemini. And this is also synchronistically happening at the same time. So Mars in Gemini has already been that our communication maybe is very direct, or maybe we are very motivated to learn practically at this time. All right. And this is all, again, shaping up in a more personal sense. But Mars in Gemini is all about, being direct and to the point when it comes to ideas, when it comes to learning, when it comes to sharing and all of this. So there's a new beginning with this. And I think there's a new beginning with our confidence, with our energy, right? With wanting to pursue ideas and the practical things in life. But at the same time, I think it's swinging in a sort of pendulum fashion. I think there might be some overconfidence and also underconfidence at this time. That's a square to Jupiter, right? Jupiter expands, but in a square, we can be, kind of all over the place. Too much of the Mars, all right? Too much confidence, too much energy, overdoing it, overbearing maybe, right? But then also not as much, because when we go to one extreme, obviously life has to balance out, and then we go to the other extreme. So maybe there's not enough motivation, not enough confidence. And so with this pendulum swing, I think it's important with this new moon to remember that there are opportunities. There are potentials, there are opportunities, and to take the actual steps towards that. Again, we're talking about a square, just like with that Chiron I was talking about. The squares are about taking action here. So it's a subtle time. It's a new moon. It's a great time to listen. But as we go into the weekend and as we go into next week, maybe there are some steps you can take to cultivate some of these opportunities, some of these possibilities in your life, whatever that might mean for you personally. Again, do check your weekly to see where Jupiter's transiting. Whoops. So Jupiter, is about, and in Virgo, is very much about the practical side of all of this. Anyways, Jupiter and Virgo, right? So what are some actual crafts you can develop? So what can you do with your routine? Again, time management, energy management, all of this grounded practical stuff to pursue these possibilities in your life. And again, be patient with the whole thing, with the opposition up to Saturn, but see that there is this new sense of freedom with the sextile up to Uranus. And there are some wounds that we're healing at this time with this whole process, all right? But fundamentally, this new moon is about this collective now integration of using our mind and our communication and our willingness to share with others in order to cultivate these new beginnings in our life. All right, so have a fantastic new moon, everyone. Thank you so much again for all of your likes, comments, and shares with these videos. If you have any questions about this, feel free to comment down below. I'll do my best to answer them for you. And yeah, have a great one, and I will see you all next time for the next report. Take care.